Good morning, Kentucky. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone had an awesome Labor Day weekend. I am here this morning for our first ever Kentucky Go Digital live event with the fabulous Elaine Abernatha, who is a district technology coordinator in McCracken County, all the way out there in Paducah, and the fabulous Brooke Will, who is an instructional tech coordinator with Hardin County Schools, and she is joined by Principal Brittany Nickel, who is the principal at East Hardin Middle School in Hardin County. So these two ladies are here this morning to help lead a discussion about using Google Forms and Autocrat for instructional walkthroughs. So ladies, we're so excited that you're here to lead our first ever Kentucky Go Digital live event, and I'll let you take it from there.
All right, Elaine, did you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? It doesn't matter to me.
Well, why don't you were discussing about how you were talking about the example of why you used it and the benefits of it. So I think that would help sell a little bit if you want to go for it first, I think.
Okay, yeah, totally. Let's see, it was probably a little over a year ago. My former chief academic officer, Mark Kopp, he's now the superintendent in Franklin County. He sort of created this whole philosophy, not philosophy, but anyways, philosophy for teacher feedback called the Coacher philosophy. And he really talks a lot about, giving and the importance of formative feedback that's intentional and authentic, just like a coacher would in a game, or coach would in a game. He does a lot better job, obviously, explaining that than I do. And so we just had a conversation one day where we were just kind of talking about, his philosophy and how to, harness the power of technology and Google Forms specifically to provide that intentional feedback in a timely manner. I was one of the teachers that demanded feedback when I would have a gaggle of administrators walk in my room or teachers in any capacity, and I wanted to know exactly what was being said and exactly what that feedback was, so that I can improve my own instructions. So our district was looking at the EWalk form. Is that what it was called? Yeah, the EWalk form. And it had come to a point where, do we renew that subscription or do we create our own thing? And so that was kind of where this conversation came with Mark. And I actually just met with Jim Masters, the chief academic. No, hang on. He is the director of secondary curriculum, I think, in Franklin County, and they are kind of working on the same thing under Mark's leadership that we did together a couple years ago. So it's really cool kind of connection. But we actually went to Brittany first. She is our principal at East Hardin Middle School. They are very tech savvy here. Brittany does a lot of paperless leadership in the building, and so we knew that this was kind of the right place to start. And so she kind of and walked through form for us. And we have, I think, about 8 schools. Stacy Bronner is our director of elementary curriculum, and she has started creating these walkthrough forms and teacher feedback templates, obviously adapted to the needs of all of our individual schools that are using this form. So it's been really neat to kind of watch this grow and see the impact. So I don't know what makes sense, to show them the form or to let you talk about kind of how it's gone in your building. I don't know.
I can just talk real quick. When we first started, the form that, or I guess the things that were on the Google form were things that were on a paper version. So I think it was nice that it wasn't a complete change as far as what was on the form and the method, I guess, that we used to complete the walkthrough. So that helped, knowing just it was a more efficient way to gather data. For one thing, it was easy for us to look at right away what we were strong at and what we needed, I guess, help in. Of course, the thing that teachers like the most is the immediate feedback, and they really like seeing comments from their colleagues. That part about what did you love the most about the classroom that they were just in, they really like it. In fact, this year when we started it, somehow the form wasn't hooked up correctly to the new, and immediately teachers were like, where's that feedback form? It's not right, you know. So I had to contact Brooke immediately and say, hey, something's not right here. So it was, I guess, nice to know that they liked that end of it, and they were asking for it immediately because they knew that's what they got out of it. So I think it's gone really well on my end as well as our teachers' end as well.
I'm going to go ahead and screen share, and I just made a copy of, are we good? Can you see me? Okay. We just made a copy of the form actually that they're using here. So when our, and I deleted, there was a question for teacher name and teacher email right up here at the top. And I just deleted that, you know, so their names wouldn't be live on YouTube in case they didn't want them there. But, so this is the actual walkthrough instrument that they are using. So I think we created a bit.ly for this, right? That you just type in or put on a bookmark on an iPad.
Mm-hmm. Actually, they bring their Chromebooks now.
Okay.
And they get to it through Google Classroom.
Awesome. Yeah. So you want to talk them through this process, like when you go in?
Right. Well, sometimes we just have a focus. Say 1 month we may have a focus on just engagement, or actually most of the year we had on engagement last year. So we would only focus on, like, we would of course still do the learning target, and then we would only do the one about engagement. But now we're really trying to focus on questioning this year. So that is one, I think on down, Brooke, somewhere. Well, about being cognitively challenged, I think that's goes into questioning. Actually, this is one where we want, I may add something to it about questioning. Okay, challenging task, but the bottom part is what, of course, the teachers love. And it just creates good conversations for the teachers that go in and when we come out, because everyone has a different opinion. So when we come out, it not only gives the teachers feedback, but it also creates great conversations of the teachers that went in, especially about the engagement, because some think that was engaging and some do not. So that sparked great conversation.
Yeah. So there, I'm going to stop sharing real quick. So we basically have a folder in our Google Drive where as soon as someone submits that form, it's going to auto-generate an email to that particular teacher, the feedback. So when you go in there with a group of, you know, how many teachers would you say you go in there with?
Used to, it was a large group, and I think that became a little overwhelming for not only the teachers doing the walkthrough, but for the teachers. So we have cut that down to 3 or 4 teachers instead of like 7. So it's only about 2 to 3, no more than 4 teachers, but of course an administrator and a district personnel too.
Okay, so I'm going to go back. Sorry, I wanted to show you an example of feedback that was actually sent, but I wanted to take the name off real quick. So depending on, you know, how many forms are filled out at that particular time, they get this in their email. And so the first thing, their name would be up here in this column, and then obviously their grade. And so it timestamps it, the time of day, so they know what class period or whatever, just kind of as a reference point. And oh, look, she won't be mad at me.
No, she won't. She's actually the one who's like, I want that feedback. She's just like you, Brooke. She always wants that feedback.
So we just kind of built this form letter. Thank you so much for allowing us to visit your classroom, blah, blah, blah. And
That's
so,
very generic.
Yeah. And so this chart right here is kind of what we're pulling in specifically from the form into the email that the teachers get. And then you see down here where we added in the sentence we love that we saw. And my favorite part of the lesson was down here at the bottom. So this is the personalized part. So this is kind of an example of what the teachers would see whenever a form is submitted. And then we also wanted to make sure that we included up here who was actually conducting the walkthrough, since there's several teachers that go in at once. And so this is just kind of an example of what that would look like. And so from an administrative perspective, Brittany has a folder in her Google Drive that has all of those documents that were generated for the entire year, so she can go back in. What was really cool for me to be able to look at and see too, in one of our elementary schools, specifically Woodland Elementary, they started piloting this for us towards the end of last school year, once we saw that it was working and that teachers really liked it. And so one of the questions was on differentiation, and the principal went in and marked on the form that they did not see any type or evidence of differentiation in the classroom. And the teacher went back in and used the comment section in the Google Doc, where she actually tagged the teacher or the principal and said, but hang on, I was doing this or whatever. And then I saw the principal go back in and say, oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. Thank you so much for sharing this. And it was a very transparent dialogue that I actually have screenshot and included that in, anytime I present on this, because I think it's really powerful and shows the power of using all of these tools cohesively together. So anyway, so those three basic pieces, the Google form, using Autocrat with spreadsheets, and then just a Google Doc. When I was talking to Jim Masters in Franklin County last week, we talked about, from a district perspective, and I think that was one of the things, I don't want to speak for them obviously, but I think one of the things that they were wanting to do as well is be able to, give intentional feedback at a district level in those forms. So I think that's pretty powerful too, when you look at that Google Doc that's going to be sent in all these different directions, and being able to have a consistent message coming from the central office, whether that's, a specific strategy, or maybe it's a YouTube video, or, maybe it's something that they want all of their staff to be able to, I don't know, maybe it's an action item and they put that action item in the Google Doc. And so, it's just a consistent across the board message. I think it's powerful. So, but yeah, Brittany is on year 2 of doing this. And like I said, we're about 8 or so in the district who've kind of jumped on board. So it's been really cool to watch, and see this grow, because I think it's powerful. Mm-hmm. I like it just from a teacher perspective. This is exactly what I would have wanted if I was still in the classroom.
Yeah, it's a time management thing for me too, because if we didn't have this system, I would want to still provide feedback for the teacher. So I'm not having to go back to my desk or my computer at night and try to provide some type of feedback to the teachers. So it's definitely a time management thing for me too.
And it's free. You don't have to pay.
That's right.
Ewok is not going to like us after this live YouTube, huh? Sorry. Elaine, do you want to jump in? I mean, I haven't talked about the how-tos or any of that, so.
Absolutely.
Kind of wanted to show the back end. I guess the results first.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what I was going to say, Elaine. Some of our viewers may not know how to get an add-on like Autocrat on a sheet. So if you could also go into a little bit more of the how-to technical stuff, that would be awesome. Now that Brooke and Brittany did a great job showing us the big picture, what it looks like.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you. I've got several that I can show that. So you basically the starting point is your main walkthrough form. And so of course to start a form, you're inside your Google Drive, and then you go down to your new and down to the more, and there are forms. And we are going to share all these links with you so that hopefully you don't have to recreate the wheel, but that's how the beginning is, the form. So once you create your form, and Brooke has a great example. This was just an example that I built for an elementary school. This is what the principal wanted. And then I have another one that's more for geared towards SITS, or towards the Charlotte Danielson framework. I've been told, I think that SITS was going away as far as in our district. I'm not sure if that's other districts as well, but we are going to try to go this way and be able to gather this data this way. But the first thing is building your form. And then once you've built your form, again, we'll give you these examples. If you go into your response tab and you create your sheet, which is your Google sheet, your spreadsheet, that's where all the data is going to go. You're going to be able to go to your add-ons button up here once it loads. think it's actually right here already loaded. Let's go here. And you're going to be able to get an add-on, which is, and this is a one-time thing. You don't have to do this every single time you want to use this add-on called Autocrat. But if you, I've already got it, but when you go down to add-ons, you can say get add-ons, and then this is almost like the Google Play Store for you to go to. And there's lots and lots and more that are coming in. But once you go in there, you'll get to type in Autocrat, and then you'll add it, and it'll ask you for rights and those type of things. So the first thing, in order to create your add-on, which you'll go into Autocrat once you've signed up for it and given it rights to view your spreadsheet. You'll start at the Autocrat, and you're going to need to create a document also on the outside that's going to, which is what Brooke was showing you, that's going to feed all that information, similar to a mail merge back in the day that we used to see, but this is very similar. So every response that you put on your form is going to go and be dumped into that. So this is one that I created with this spreadsheet, and let's go ahead and look at it. So the first page is you're going to name what the job is, because you can have multiple Autocrats going on. It's a little bit more advanced, but and then you're going to find your template. And I like to create this separately. And so the template for this one is actually, let's see, it's right here. And it looks very complex when you first look at it, but then after you get the hang of it, then you pretty much understand. So these little things are called carets, and when you bracket something in the caret, this means that when somebody puts in this information for teacher email, whatever you put in here, once you put this, it's going to be placed in here. And I usually use teacher email so that, like Brooke said, that's going to later on be asked in Autocrat how you can, that's going to be emailed directly. And there's that quick, like Jennifer said, that's response that the teachers were wanting. So when you're looking at it, you're actually pretty much putting information that's on your form into a document format. So for example, this one's asking what was the lesson delivery. Did the teacher give clear and accurate explanations? And so this is more of a formative or an informative walkthrough. And then you put down what this is going to be response, but then you can also put down, well, what's going to, where can you put in the form, and then the comment. I found when I first learned that I was building this that I would have multiple comments. And so I learned that I had to actually put in numbers for comments so that I can keep things organized as well. So once
you have to share one, right?
I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, am I sharing? Yes.
Yes, you're sharing this template with everyone because you built that from scratch in a Google Doc. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And I have one that's also for, yes, I'll share all of this. And these are the copy. So they just literally click on the link and they'll have it. And then they just have to match it up with Autocrat. But yes, absolutely. And I've got one also for the Charlotte Danielson framework here, which I'm not sure if other districts are losing the SITs, but I think we are. So it's in its third year, and so we are getting ready to lose that. But so it's basically just using these carets and spitting information where you want it to. So once you've started your Autocrat, though, it's asking you where is that template that we're going to put all this stuff into, and that's what this second window is. So once you go to the next, it's asking you then to manually make sure that each one of these is matched up with the column on your spreadsheet here. So you just go through, make sure each one is correct, and that's why I had to number these comments, which was because if a comment 1, it would just auto-generate, maybe comment 10 would go in here, and we don't want that. So once you've made sure all of those match up nicely, then the next one is, what are we going to name this file? So Jennifer has now an awesome folder inside her drive that says for all of these walkthroughs or all of these observations. Well, now if she's going to look at, Elaine Abernathy's walkthrough, if she wants to be able to see what that each file and have them specific to the teacher. So we just put whatever I put for the teacher's email, and then the date and the observation. And the sky's the limit on this. So also Autocrat's recently added these clipboards so that you don't have to remember what you've got on your form. And so it's neat. You can just click on this and then paste it into what you're trying to build here. You can make this a Google document, which I like to keep it as a Google document because you add all of the, the other benefits of making it a live document, and that you can add the comments, or you can make them as PDF. I've not used single document. That would mean that it's going to all just go constantly to the bottom of a document. And so you're going to have one big document. But if you're wanting to share that document and it be individually shared, you'd want to make sure you're making multiple documents. The next one is, where are all these things going to go? So if we look into the drive, once you make your walkthrough, it's going to look like this. So you've got your form here, and then you have your basic template, and then all the teacher files are going to go there as well. So Jennifer, when she's looking at hers, all of her teacher files are going to go here, and all that really cool data is going to be spit into here. So once she goes into, it's asking, where do you want me to put all these files that we're going to be creating? So, and the step one is, this can get really techy, but if you wanted, you just pretty much need to make a condition so that if this, as soon as somebody enters in information, then it knows to go, is the basic reasoning for that. And so this is how you choose to share it. If not, that you want to share it. It can be an editable doc. I don't see why I wouldn't let anybody share something if they want to share with someone. So that's the yes. And then I do like to send it from a generic one, because a lot of times I'm building these things and I've built one of these for when you've gotten your CPR certification. So I want to make sure that I don't get the email replied back to me and those type of things. So you can send it from a generic. So this is, just think of this as a regular email. I want whatever is the teacher's email that's put in there, it's going to go to that person. And then the date of the observation, and then it will be attached. So once you've made it, you want to make sure that you run it on a trigger. As soon as the form is submitted, you want it. You can also make these where it just runs every day at 3 o'clock, because the teacher's not going to be able to see it or whatnot. But those are for other types of forms too, better fitting as well. And then that's it. You pretty much click save, and you run your first job by pushing the play button, and then it's automated. It's pretty neat to see that this happen. So. But like I said, I've got one for the Charlotte Danielson framework as well, which would be more of a formative assessment. So, and that's pretty it. That's pretty much it.
The teacher will get an email with a link to the Google Doc that has the doc that you made, that all of the information that you have inputted into the form then streamlines it together to that doc, and then Autocrat pushes that doc out to the teacher via email, correct? For anyone who is super brand new to this.
Yes, and the best part is that spreadsheet that has all that data in there, and you can manipulate that in multiple ways and find out, how are we doing with our targets? If you have that on your form, do we need to be more specific with our targets? Or are we even putting our targets up on the board? Those type of things, and more positive things, of course, as how is our differentiation? Are we meeting our high, mediums, and lows, and those type of things? So it's really neat data, for sure.
So ladies, based on your experiences, what would the first step be for a principal? I'm thinking probably nailing down exactly what you're looking for in your walkthroughs. What's your focus for the year, or your school focus, or your district focus? I think, Brittany, you said yours revolved around, was it questioning or rigor?
Last year we did engagement, and this year we want to try to do, like, the first time around we just kind of did everything just to kind of the first time, but now we're going to try to do more like questioning techniques, or just general like higher order questioning. So I need to actually go in and modify my walkthrough form. unless, we get, a district kind of focus, we might want to add that too, but we haven't gotten that per se just yet. Or it may be based on, test scores. What is it that, we need to focus on school-wide? Writing is always one that we have, trying to see, but that's not something that you're going to see every time you go into the classroom, though, either, unless we have it as a focus. That we say, if we're coming to your classroom and they know ahead of time we're coming, let us see your writing to learn, type strategies. We could do it that way too. I just like that it's flexible. That form, you can manipulate that form and change it as much as you want. And, teachers know you wouldn't necessarily even have to mess with that Autocrat form. It would just be blank for that visit, I think. So, of course, I'm learning here too, because, I'm thankful I have Brooke here to help me get this started. But I would like to be able to edit that Autocrat form myself instead of Brooke having to do it every time for me.
We're learning. I think too, a really powerful thing about this is, we are the 4th largest district in the state. I mean, depending on who you're talking to, if it's Warren County or Hardin County, right? I love them. I call them our sister districts, so it's fine. But we're going to be 4th for this Google Hangout right now. But anyway, we're really geographically large, and we have 1 chief academic officer, 1 superintendent, 2 director of curriculums, and that's 4 people from our district leadership. And when you think about 24 schools, couple thousand teachers, it's not efficient. It is not very transparent, and it is not very productive to say we're going to write on these sheets of paper and give intentional feedback that way, because then your data is obsolete by the time it gets in the hands of the teachers. And so for all intents and purposes, we could have our chief academic officer hop in, teachers here at East Hardin from their desk and be able to give authentic, personal feedback to the majority of the teachers in the building. Like if he knows that Brittany's doing walkthroughs on this day, he could pop in from his desk and, meet technically with, most of her staff, drop a comment in. I love awesome. Like the cave that Amanda did. I know exactly what lesson you're talking about when I pulled that up. It was funny because it is amazing, and it's kind of infamous around here, her cave activity that she does with her kiddos. And so how cool would that be for our chief academic officer to see that from this data that we're using with Autocrat and Google Forms, and be like, you know what, Amanda, the next time you're doing this lesson, let me know so that I can actually pop in person. And just being able to be efficient with his time managing, 24 schools and the instruction in 24 schools. So I just think it's really powerful for district leaders. And Elaine is like the Autocrat queen of the universe because every time I talk to her, I learn something new about Autocrat. So she is definitely the queen there. But she taught me actually, and I think it's important to mention just from a district perspective, that one of those last things on that Autocrat when she was talking about it is setting up conditions to where if you are a district leader and you are in charge of 24 schools or however many schools are in your district, setting up that one form, but then running those Autocrats with conditions for each of your schools that you're responsible for, I think is really powerful from a district perspective. And I know that's what Jim and I were talking about in Franklin County, because they were doing a district form, and he's making that form once, but he's setting up, 8, 10, however many schools they have, Autocrats on that same form. So again, I think it's really powerful. But I just learned that from Elaine a couple of weeks ago when she taught me, because listen, I'm Autocratting all the things after talking to Elaine. So
Annette Sapp is in Davis County, and I have seen her present about Autocrat at Teach Meet Bowling Green. And so she's another one that's out there that is an Autocrat guru. Have you all ever worked with Form Mule as an add-on on a Google Sheet? Because I know some principals are using Form Mule. Anyone had any experiences with that one?
I have heard of it, and I think I've heard it from you, Heather, talking about it, but I have not actually done a whole lot with it. Form Mule. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think it's very similar, pushing back feedback to teachers after a walkthrough. I think a lot of districts are using that. I know my teammate Laura Raganos uses that with principals as well. So one more time, just to kind of go through the steps for a principal who is just learning. We have a lot of principals across the state that are just getting their feet wet with the tools. They're just barely learning how to use a form and pushing the data to a sheet. So let's go through one more time, step by step, and then let's make sure to tell them where they can get the links to all this stuff. So Elaine, do you want to take that one from there, step by step?
Sure, absolutely. Let me share my screen. Can you guys see it? Okay, make sure I shared it. Share screen. There we go. Okay. I will look at this observation one that's the Charlotte Danielson framework. And so the first thing you need to do is you need to, and this form will be there. And if for some reason you want to actually not have to retype it, if you just email me, I can put you as a collaborator. You just have to make a copy. And that's the only way I know how to actually make you have a copy of it without having to type it over. But there are all of these, the form for the sample one that I made is here and Brooks is here. And then the form for this one that we're looking at right now is here. And then these are the documents that are built directly over those forms so that, and these are forced copies. So you don't have to worry about.
So really, the first thing would be then to ensure that you know what you're looking for. So really nailing down, you guys have a couple of examples, one from Brittany's school where their focus is on writing and questioning and some other things that they're working to refine. And then you have like the full-fledged summative Charlotte Danielson framework. But as the principal, really you need to, step one, nail down what you're looking for when you visit a classroom and the types of feedback you want to give the teacher. From there, you would then build your Google form, and you've done a couple of examples. Then you go into the classroom and collect the data, right, ladies?
Yes. Well, and you want to also tie your data or your form into something. This is a little daunting, but here's one that looks a little bit better. It's basically you're just going to say, what is the question, and put that information here, and then what is the answer that I'm going to have down on the form, and then that information is going to go into here.
So before you go into the classroom, you need to nail down your Google form and your Autocrat Google Doc that is going to then push out the information to teachers via email after you visited, right?
Yes.
I might have gotten those steps backwards. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to note that there's 3 steps that you have to, I mean, you know, step 1 is obviously your form. Step 2 is to make that Google Doc template. And then once you have both of those pieces, then you're ready to open your response sheet and run your Autocrat.
Yeah.
So
perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to make sure to get nailed down for everyone. Okay. So where are these awesome resources going to be?
Well, I tried to post it in the live chat over here on YouTube, but it won't let me post web addresses in that Hangout. So I just said we'll tweet it to the Kentucky Go Digital hashtag. But it's a simple bit.ly. It's just bit.ly/sample walkthrough. But we can tweet that out on the Kentucky Go Digital hashtag.
Awesome. I wanted to give a shout out. I see some of our friends in Caverna Independent School District were joining us today. My new teammate, Ben Maynard, who has been a principal out in Boyd County. He is on the Hangout as well. So anyone who joined us, we're so glad to have you. And Brittany, the principal here, using these tools to work smarter, not harder. I know you're very busy, so thank you so much for giving us some of your time to talk about your experiences. Anything else you want to add, Brittany, before we go?
No, I don't think so. I've enjoyed this. I've learned some things from you all, so that's even better to make this better.
Hey, we had a quick question. Ben Maynard here, he said emailing the completed walkthrough isn't a requirement, correct? Sharing with the teacher pushes it to their My Drive so they could see it there. I mean, that is right. You don't necessarily have to email them. I just like the email component because and it kind of drives them specifically, like this is the walkthrough feedback form from what we just did.
Right.
But
that's the notifier for them too. You know, that's how they get notified that the feedback's ready, correct?
Yes. I think, yeah. I mean, that's a good question. I've not really thought about like when you are sharing. Actually, you know what? You may have to email to share, because on the Autocrat it says share. It has the share button, and as soon as you toggle it on, then the email pops up, and that's who it gets shared with. Is that correct? Okay, I think so. Maybe Ben, sorry, maybe I was wrong. I think you do have to put that email in if you wanted it to share with them. I don't know. I would have to double check on that. I'm just kind of answering off the top of my head. Elaine, do you have a comment on that question?
I had a principal. It does have to be emailed, and then I had a principal that he, instead of putting it into a folder, he then put those into the folders that were directly shared with the teacher. So he instead of just emailing them, then that way he already organized it just a second way. So
awesome.
Awesome, everyone. Well, so I believe you guys are going to tweet these links to resources out. We would love anyone who's listening, reach out to us through Twitter on the Kentucky Go Digital hashtag. Any other topics that you would like us to share on pertaining to principals, district, or school leaders, we're here to help. We have a lot of awesome people across the state using these tools to work more efficiently. And so if you have anything that you're interested in, just let us know on the hashtag, and we'll work to get another Kentucky Go Digital live event for you to support your needs. I guess, ladies, that concludes this event. Any last words? Have a good week.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks so much. Have a good rest of your week. Thanks, everyone. Till next time.